All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today on PrizePicks. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, guys, just a quick recap from yesterday's live stream. 50% on the day, 8 for 16, okay? Did end up having a middle with the two college basketball prop bets that I made clear on the Discord and on Twitter as well with RJ Davis and Hunter Dickinson. Thankfully, Hunter Dickinson was able to hit a 50-50 split. Also on the live stream, really mentioned the emphasis that we had on some of the PGA props where we're getting some massive edges. I really hope you guys took that advice. I ended up having a very good day on Underdog as a result of those clear discrepancies that we had with the PGA props. But looking at today's slate for NBA, we are getting some decent edges right now. The first one's actually going to be with Lauri Markkanen to get his over fantasy score. And if you look at it, guys, has not been a good stretch for him lately. Going against Milwaukee, that their whole team struggled, okay, and that's obviously a concern. And I think if we look at the game log for Lauri Markkanen here, this is going to be one where he just needs to get the minutes. It's pretty much as simple as that. Utah has been a team that's been getting blown out a bunch, and I'm not going to necessarily say that that's going to change in this game, but Vegas thinks it's a 6.5 point spread. And so really when I start to truly worry about a blowout is like 7.5 points, and a blowout in the sense that it's going to change the likelihood of a bet hitting. So again, we're just kind of looking at this, seeing that he should be able to get the minutes. Thus, his over fantasy score is going to be a pretty decent prop bet. Another one that's popping up is going to be Donovan Mitchell to get over his PRA, which I think is fine. A lot of people are betting on his over points as well. That should go hand in hand. I don't see that one is exactly one we need to be going out of our way to target. So with that, I want to jump into just some other spots where we are getting some decent bets as well. I want to show you guys just the general board that we're getting here right now. So if you guys are watching this video right now on DraftKings, turnovers, okay, so under turnovers on DraftKings is going to be a good bet. The payout is slightly better there. That's off by 1.5%. We got Dyson Daniels for over 4.5 rebounds on FanDuel. Then you also have Wemby for under his blocks on FanDuel as well. Those are decent edges there. If you guys are someone that's looking for some decent projected edges, Donovan Mitchell for his over PRA is also a pretty good one there as well. So, decent edge there on flip if you guys are someone that plays there. Yeah, let's jump into some of my favorite prop bets for the day in general. And so I do want to take a peek at the Spurs because they are going to be pretty thin today. Most likely Malachi Branham is looking like he's going to sit, but then also you got Devin Vassell that's likely going to be back today. The question I have is just how many minutes is he going to play if he is indeed back. We don't know that, so I'm just kind of going to use like Branham's minutes as like a replacement for Vassell. And so if that does happen, then we're looking at Julian Champagnie to be someone that I think is a decent edge that we got in general. Really just all the lines that we're getting on him to me seem to be a little bit too low. If you like his PRA, that's fine. If you like his points and rebounds, points and assists, all of them seem to be a little bit too low. I actually like the points and rebounds probably the most for me personally. Now this is probably a better sportsbook bet than it is a PrizePicks bet, but the reason why I like this bet is due to the minutes that he's likely to get, but really all of them are going to be good bets. So we do see this last 3 game average where he's been able to crush this over. If we go to his points, it's going to be more of the same. If you go to his PRA, it's going to be more of the same as well. And so it's kind of been twofold. It's one, just due to the increase in minutes that he has been getting lately, but it's also due to the increase in role that he's been getting as well. So again, with all the Spurs players banged up, he is someone that has been really gaining a lot of minutes, but also his per 36 production with those players off the court suggests that he should be able to get this over. So his per 36 production is 16.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 17% usage rate, and about 34 his fantasy score. Now we're going to see probably not the most likely for him to get that many minutes, but at the same time, if this game does end up being a blowout, I still think that he will get that run. And so I like those bets that we are getting. A lot of people are betting on his over 10.5 points. I don't hate that. Like if we're locking in a guy that's going to be shooting this many 3 balls, he has been a little bit too hot shooting the 3 ball. I will say that is something that does worry me, right? 4 for 8, 3 for 6, 5 for 10. That's not sustainable. We know that he is due for a poor night shooting pretty soon. And heck, that could happen in this game as well. And so that's why I'm kind of liking maybe even more of the rebounds, but, kind of baking those in together where we're doing the points and rebounds, because again, he's not going to shoot that well throughout this season. I mean, that's just not sustainable. But Utah, easy matchup. We look at the last time out against Utah. That game was a blowout as well. Only 6 points for him, but he didn't play as many minutes. And so maybe I just talked myself into the rebounds there at 3.5 or 4. I guess I could be on board with that instead. And so now I want to jump into the Brooklyn Nets just in general, because Ben Simmons is going to be out. And the nice thing about Ben Simmons being out is that it does increase a lot of the roles for some of the other players, strangely enough. So Dennis Schroeder is someone that I think we're going to be looking at a decent amount today as a result. Really, all of his numbers are a little bit too low to me with Ben Simmons off the court. His PRA is really the only one that's popping up here for us to be betting his over, which I don't know if I exactly love that. But looking at it, guys, he should get, I would assume he's going to get around 35 minutes, honestly. Like, to me, that should be pretty good. But looking at it, maybe just his points of 21, or sorry, looking at his points, I think this could be the one that we roll with, because you look at his per 36 production with Ben Simmons off the court and some of those other bigs as well. I'm not too worried about that. But looking at it, guys, he averages 21 points per 36 with those players off the court, specifically Ben Simmons, 3.1 rebounds, 8.7 assists, 26% usage rate, and 40 fantasy points per 36. So I could see myself potentially just betting his over fantasy score. Now, he does get a more difficult matchup here going against Cleveland. This is a game in which they are projected, to get blown out. I don't love that. Looking at the game lines here, like, they're 13-point dogs. So that's the issue. That's why his minutes projection is lower. And so I just want that to be clear. That's the biggest bet that we're making here, is the bet on the minutes. But at the same time, I think that's why I like the points a little bit more, because even if he doesn't get 36 minutes, maybe he gets that 32, I still see him being able to get the over there. Let's see. So we take the Vegas line based off of his projected minutes. It's going to be around 15.2. So I guess that's why Vegas is probably favoring the under a little bit there. It's just interesting there. I like the over there. Again, probably just a better sportsbook bet. And so staying with Brooklyn here as well, let's get into Nick Claxton, because Nick Claxton should get a little bit more run with Ben Simmons off the court as well. Nick Claxton, we are getting some decent lines on. Again, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the unders here, like the data is telling us to, because I think he will have a decent game here. But again, the game is a blowout, most likely, and so I kind of get it. But looking at his stats as well, I think I like the points here. So you look at his per 36 production, or maybe just points and assists. So we look at his per 36 production, guys. He averages 13.5 points per 36, 11.9 rebounds, and 3.7 assists per 36, around 40 fantasy points per 36 as well. Now, again, we're not expecting him to get 36 minutes, and this is really one of the toughest matchups that he'll face all year, but I do expect him to get closer to like 28 minutes or so. And then he should be able to have a decent game. The issue is it's a little bit tight. So this is not a bet that I particularly love on PrizePicks or Underdog. This would just be purely a sportsbook bet where we're just kind of doing a game stack where we're betting on the game to stay close. Thus, Nick Claxton is someone that maybe gets to that 30 minutes or so, and then he's able to get those overs. So let's stick with Brooklyn, because Brooklyn now we are getting maybe a potential edge with Finney Smith. So Finney Smith's minutes have been pretty concrete. But if you look at his numbers with Ben Simmons off the court, he does benefit a decent amount. And so again, this game is projected to be a blowout that could really, really affect the minutes that all these players get. That's the biggest concern. Just want to reiterate that one more time. But as you guys just saw, Finney Smith is someone that has been consistently getting his over rebounds, especially at the current line that's at least on Underdog here, where Underdog has the line set at 4.5. We're not getting the line on PrizePicks, but the line is set at 4.5, and you're going to give me a 1.1x payout. I'm okay with taking that. I think that's a decent edge that we are getting there to be able to target that bet. So consistently averaging over 5 rebounds, we see that. Again, it's just the minutes. That's the only thing we're worried about. And for what's worth, Cam Thomas does kind of go off with Ben Simmons off the court, but I don't want to bank on that too much. So the next spot I want to talk about is going to be really with the Toronto Raptors. So Emmanuel Quickley is expected back today. We're not sure exactly how many minutes he's going to play, or really what the expectation is for his minutes, which is a little bit annoying, just that we haven't gotten that news just yet. So he is someone that last year really should be able to go off in this spot if we knew that he was going to get his normal allotment of minutes, because he would go off with Scotty Barnes off the court even when RJ Barrett was there. So his per 36 production was 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds, 20 points as well. Had a pretty big usage rate, 27%, and averaged 38 fantasy points per 36. But we don't know how many minutes he's going to get. And so with that, I'm kind of more on the conservative side with his minutes here projection. And so I think I'd rather just go with like Grady Dick again. Grady Dick has been a source of profit for us thus far this season, minus the last game against Sacramento where he just had a poor night shooting. You know, I like the idea of pairing him with RJ Barrett over assists. That did not work out because, again, Grady Dick had a poor night shooting. But you look at his per 36 production from last year, with Scotty Barnes off the court, and obviously some of those other players that are no longer on the team, he averaged 20.6 points per 36, 3.6 rebounds, 0.2 assists, which is kind of crazy, but a 23% usage rate and 24 fantasy points per 36. So we know the theme with Grady Dick. It's like he's going to get his shot attempts up regardless. Now, if Quickly plays a full allotment of minutes, yeah, sure, Grady Dick's role is going to be reduced. We know that. But he's still going to get his shot attempts up. Heck, that might even lead to more cleaner shot attempts, more open shot attempts. And so we look at like the game log from his last game. Yeah, 3 for 10, 0 for 5 from 3. That game was a blowout pretty quick. He did not get his minutes. You could argue that, yeah, maybe if he gets 12 more minutes, he might, you know, obviously get close. I mean, he still had 7 points while having a terrible night, right? Like, we knew that was going to happen, and it did happen. And so I'm kind of fine going back to the well with him. Now, another player that should be in for a decent game is going to be RJ Barrett as well in the same game. Looking at it, he has been someone that has been having a lot of assists lately. And so, I kind of think that goes hand in hand. Now, his minutes were there in that last game. But with, obviously, again, Grady Dick not making shots, yeah, that does hurt the likelihood for someone like RJ Barrett to really have a good game. And so we look at the lines that we're getting for RJ Barrett. I think they're fine. You know, I don't mind the idea of betting his overs here. At the same time, does feel pretty tight. And so I'm just going to stick with Grady Dick for now. And for what it's worth with Grady Dick, when we look at it, guys, he is projected to get 34 points. And if he does get that, we can see really across the board that's telling us to bet his over. Like, again, per 36 production tells us to bet the over. Projection data likes the over. DVP projection likes the over. Vegas minutes times his projection. Vegas line divided by his average minutes times by his projected minutes likes the over. Average projection is over. Average sports line likes it. We're like across the board, this should be a good one. But we know it's just based off of his shots, if he's hitting it or not, obviously, right? And so before we get into the bet of the day, do just remind you guys of the promo code that's going on the 9 to 5 website. Use the promo code Keep Cash and get 10% off or 20% off your first 9 to 5 membership. Turn that $10 membership into an $8 membership for the first month. So before we get into the bet of the day, I do just want to call it real quickly as well. We are getting some more fantasy score prop bets in there. Donovan Mitchell over fantasy score is now the best bet on the board. I already have some of my exposure to the Dennis Schroeder over points and to the Nick Claxton over points and assists that I mentioned. Okay. But I'm also going to be doing the other thing here where I think this correlates pretty well with what the data is kind of telling us here, where we can bet on like this little bet slip where we're kind of just going based off of what the game is telling us. And so if it's a blowout, Dennis Schroeder and Nick Claxton not going to get as much run. And if it's a blowout in favor of Utah being up, in favor of Cleveland being up, then I do believe that Donovan Mitchell is going to be a key contributor to that game being a blowout as well. So that's a good little game stack. And if you do that, this is the nice part about betting on fantasy score is that they're currently not reducing the payout just yet. That'll probably come down pretty soon here, but until they change that, that's a decent edge that we have there. If you want to take a step further, Darius Garland, that's a 53% likely to hit. It's not a bad way to do a little game stack there. I think that's a decent route to go. So now, guys, I do think it's kind of obvious if you're running out of 2 slip bets and you're just like, don't want to run out of 5 slip bet. I get that. The 2 best bets that we have on the board, the 2 bets that are over 54% likely to hit, Lauri Markkanen over fantasy score, Donovan Mitchell over fantasy score. Okay. The top bets have been hitting pretty frequently on the 9 to 5 cheat sheet. But in terms of other bets that I like as well myself, Grady Dick over 15.5 points. I like Dennis Schroeder over 15.5 points. Again, I am going to be running out that little game stack I just mentioned. That will not be on the bet of the day, but that's going to be a bet that I'm personally running out. The bet of the day is for me to really just track how my picks and advice is doing throughout the year, week, month, and just whatnot, so that when any controls in the comment section come in and say your advice is bad or vice versa, your advice is the best, I'd be like, well, it's pretty good. Or it's when it's negative, oh no, it's actually pretty good. Here's the record. To add that balance there. But that's something I'm going to be running out. That's more for fun, but I do like that stack. It correlates pretty well. That's going to be a good route to go. And then Julian Champagny, I do like the over 10.5 points. I would say these 3 right here are better traditional sportsbook bets. So I kind of mentioned some sleeper bets that we had potential for yesterday. Hopefully you guys used those with the protected play and the discounts that we had. So it was a good day for you. But that's how I'd probably most likely want to use these in the optimal way, if that makes sense. So again, 2 slip bet these 2, but I'm running out of 5 slip bet. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your guys' favorite prop bet in this video. Again, I am kind of hoping for more Toronto prop bets that are a little bit better, specifically for Emmanuel Quickly. It's a 4-game slate, though, so not too much there today. All right, guys, that's going to be all. Thank you guys for watching. Give a like and subscribe. Head over to 9to5sports.com to get access to all those tools. That's going to be all. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.